Call to order, the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Coletto Frias, Scott Latham.
Here.
Thomas Grattan.
Here.
Thomas Kennedy. Brian Tobin.
Here.
In the event of an emergency, all visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building and do not attempt to leave in your automobiles, since this may cause traffic problems and block incoming emergency vehicles.
Okay, at this time, we will have our first hearing of visitors. If anybody would like to speak, we just ask that you speak on agenda items only. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda, which is our approval of minutes, financial matters, Committee on Special Education, financial matters, schedule of bills, treasurer's report, monthly budget status report, transfers. I did have a question, and the transfers on the student transportation, Mather outpatient, is that, I mean, that was a big number. Is that for the rest of the year, or?
So the transport students who, they're having some kind of hospital instruction, or they're going to a
Right.
location?
Is the number for,
There must
yeah,
be code that's for the-
Oh, okay.
okay.
So that's,
The new, you know, we get something from the PPS department that
Yep.
the student's gonna go there to Mather, and then, we had to provide a bus.
oh, okay. But that's like for the rest of the year, or is that a number
It's
that's,
what- I don't think it's the rest of the year, although I don't know what the term is.
Is it, but what you put in was enough for the rest of the year, whether it's used or not.
Yes.
okay. I just,
That's why it's that number.
okay. Extra classroom activity fund contracts, which is for DDI, Developmental Disabilities Institute, flow-through contract, the contracts for the pit orchestra, CSC recommendations.
The next month, they didn't have any for this meeting.
Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Old business. School team reviews.
So just we had a couple questions. We checked with our cheerleading coach, and the board had asked about school teams getting bumped. We never bumped school teams for any of our outside groups. The coach did tell us there were 2 or 3 times where another school team's games went late, and they ended up losing part of their practice time because, say, a volleyball game went half an hour late, and that ran into their practice. We did get contacted by CYO because, you know, they're a great group to work with and very supportive. They just want to make sure if there's anything they can do with their kids to make sure they're not distracting any of our teams. And they're always very responsive. The day in question that they asked about, they were actually scheduled for, but it wasn't scheduled until a couple days before our last meeting. That's why, you know, it wasn't something that we knew about. The reason it wasn't scheduled was the coach didn't know their itinerary for their trip to go away. They did go away, competed, did very well, made it to the semifinal round, I think it was. And they came back yesterday. They just beat the snow back. So, you know, it was good. I didn't think that we were in a position, the coach, after we reached out to her, said that, you know, the athletic office, she appreciated everything they did this year, and they were very responsive, and that she felt that it went really well. The other old business was the trip. I did speak to Mr. Rush. They're still looking at the fundraising piece. They understand they should be fundraising, especially to try to offset the cost. The students picked a number of trips. There were some that were less expensive, but they came up with 3 or 4 different trips. Then they put them out to a vote for all of the other students in the senior class, and this was the trip that they chose. You know, when you give student choice, you run into the situations where you kind of got to, if you're going to give them the choice, you got to go with what they choose. And that's the way it kind of works. So when they did their vote, this is the one they chose. It is an expensive trip. Hopefully in the future, we'll be able to offset some of the cost if there's a trip that's expensive with fundraising. They're going to the Keys. They had other trips that were less expensive. I spoke to the advisor. They did have less expensive trips on there. This is the one the kids voted for. So, excuse me?
I understand why they picked that.
Yeah, I don't remember where the others were, but I do know
How
that,
many students are we talking?
I don't know how many are going
Can't
off the
swing
top of my head, but I think they were in the 30s, which is typical for our senior trip. Usually about half the group goes. There are years there were years when I first got here where they didn't take the trip because they didn't have enough kids to want to go. Different trips. I don't really know exactly where they were.
I
But I-
don't recall Jess and Megan going. I know Jess didn't go on
Yeah.
on
My
the scene.
son,
We have a lot of
Did they
kids.
even have one?
Yeah, they might not have, I don't know. We do have kids that just, they don't want to go. Like I've talked to kids about it, and I don't feel like going, I'd rather save my money for college, or whatever it may be. I will try to get you a number on how many are going. That's it for me
All right.
on that.
You're next anyway.
Keep going.
So for me, it's just very quickly, a mid-year update on our goals. Goal number one is our academic goal. At this point in time, we've had 137 visits to classrooms. We're doing our visits in teams of 2 this year, different than we did last year. It allows us to really foster our own professional development because you're talking about engagement and learning targets and on-task behaviors and all these things that we're valuing. The 137 visits, over 90%, indicated that there was student engagement going on in the classes during multiple different activities. We've just recently, after working with Judy Riley last week, we've broken engagement into 2 pieces, so we're indicating whether there was student engagement, and we're indicating what percentage of the class for the remainder of the year, more for our edification and our own training. But that's going well. The number of visits and the schedule we're using will probably create about double the number of visits that we had last year. So it gives us some really good data. Social emotional goal, Rethink Ed, we're presently, I know that you guys saw the letter, it went home with Parent Square early on the year. We're utilizing it similarly to last year, but instead of having 1 focus per month, we have 2. It's evident when you go into classrooms, whether it be, different areas up here in the high school or elementary rooms, you see the Rethink Ed language being used, and we're hoping at the end of the year when we do our diagnostics on it to see a decrease in negative behaviors in the classroom. The financial budget, Chuck is working hard. We have all our numbers now. Our levy's going to be around 3%. Where we'll end up, we'll figure out because we're still working on it, but we're a couple weeks away from our first budget meeting. We're hoping for a budget vote affirmative of 75% or greater. And then that 3A, we're exploring all potential fiscal planning opportunities to support district needs locally. Really, we're talking about trying to figure out how we can utilize reserves to find parking spots for monies that may come available when our bond is paid off, so that we can utilize that more as a pay-as-you-go type of scenario to keep our building so that we don't get to where we need $9 million to fix everything that's been broken. We would prefer to figure out a way, if we need $1.5 million, what reserve can we park that in for a year and then do the work next year after utilizing that money that we won't be, we pay back about $250,000 to the bond every year. So we're working on that now. It's not as easy as you would think in the fiscal structure that you have and what's allowable in New York State, but it really is the plan that we have in schools all over New York State is wear everything down until you need millions of dollars worth of work and then bond out and get all your work done. it makes more sense to continually do the work as you go. It's less expensive, you pay less interest, and you get less run down, So that's what we're trying to figure out now. We have a handful of years before that bond is paid off. So we're trying to work on it now so that we can hopefully put it in place. And then the last one is facilities. Anthony and his guys are doing regular walkthroughs. And, we have someone coming in to work on the windows in the middle school. They came in and, the windows there they never really worked correctly. There's big gaps, there's issues with it, but they're only 12-year-old windows, which is really way too soon to replace windows. It should be probably twice that long. So we brought in a couple of different contractors. One believes that if we change all the framing and put in some new tracks and stuff, that will probably solve the problem and get us double the life that we have now. So that he's coming in to do like a room and see how that works, and then we'll decide whether we're gonna go forward with the rest. So we're doing a number of different things like that. And they're doing regular walkthroughs to make sure that all the things that are on that 5-year plan are being addressed throughout the 5 years. So in a nutshell, we're moving along nicely with our goals. Anybody have any questions on any of them, or?
Boilers are coming along.
Yeah, so this building right now, you can feel there's heat. We have one boiler now. The other one has been ripped out. The one boiler we have is a new one. After they put it in, wired it, and did everything they were supposed to do, they ran it for 10 days before taking the old one out. Once they ran it for 10 days without a problem, they took the old one out. The old one out is sitting on pallets out there under some snow on the other side of the road. It's massive, it's really, we have 4 or 5 steam fitters, and they're very good at what they do. They build a whole track system with steel beams to get these pieces out, because they weigh anywhere from 8 to 1,200 pounds each. And it almost looks like an engine jack that they use to kind of like to lift it up and then chain, and they move it down, and then they have a forklift with an extra long fork on it. When it gets to the end of the track system, it slides onto that, and then they bring it out and put it on the pallets. They all sit on pallets out there. The elementary school, one of their 2 boilers has been taken out, and the new one has been put in. They're in the process of wiring and steam fitting everything for that now. So we're hoping that gets fired up in the next week or so. We'll do the same thing there. It's not ideal. We've been running both of our buildings on one boiler for a period of time. You have 2 massive boilers for a reason. It's not accidental. We don't use 2 boilers all the time, but you have 2 because, you really can't afford to have one go down in a school building. So it is a little bit scary during heating season to have it, but this is the only way it was going to get done. We were delayed multiple times by the state, and so this is where we're at now. We have a really competent crew that does a nice job, and I'm sure once they get the one fired up in the elementary school, the slab where the boiler sits had to be extended 4 or 5 feet, because the boiler that we have is a little shorter and longer than the one that we used to have. Same size inside, but it's a little bit longer. So they poured the new slab Monday, and they'll start putting the new stuff in a couple of days. And, like I said, they're doing a great job. It looks fantastic when you go down there. They're looking at the possibility of venting it differently than the louvered vent windows we have. They might direct vent it out.
Where at the elementary?
Here. We have 2 or 3 louvered windows where the whole room vents, but basically that means the whole room is cold all the time. If they do a direct vent, then you don't have an open window basically down there all year long, and it just...
Piped right out.
Yeah, it's piped right out, and it or in, depending on what they need. And, so they're talking about the possibility of finishing off with that if we're able to do it, and so it'll be a little bit better. But the new boiler's running very well, knock on wood, and another month we'll have the second one in here. And then, wiring takes almost a week. Like, it's not like wiring, it's not like putting a porch light up. It's an extensive process. So it's going very well, and they're doing a good job. And, I've been down there multiple times to look at it, and we have one here. The one here has all the insulation and all of the skin on it now, so it's done. And, there's a couple panels they're waiting for to switch over, so they have regular, like if we have to switch to oil, it's just a switch you flip now, whereas it'll be a panel eventually that'll, do it electronically. They're waiting for it to come in. It doesn't impact the way it works. It's just a matter of hooking it up when it gets here, so.
Does Anthony, I mean, I'm sure he's got it in his head somewhere, but, with the deal with the boilers, replaced, they're perfectly good, but they don't make them anymore. Does he have a schedule of, it would be good to replace, we have to replace, we're way beyond when we should replace for all the big things in the district?
I don't know. I can talk to him about it, though.
Because that would be something for, if when we do have money, listen, the roof in the elementary school is coming up to it would be nice to replace
Yeah.
age,
Yeah.
before something becomes mission critical.
I don't know if he has an absolute list, but he does, he has things that are on his radar. Like when I meet with him every year, he tells me, this roof is this old, it's been there this long, it's something we really got to start looking at to think about replacing it, and so on and so forth. Our boilers, I mean, as much as the biggest problem with the boilers was getting them repaired and getting parts for them, one at the elementary school had been leaking for 2 years. Like it was not, it was broke.
Yeah.
So the not getting parts is not a problem until something breaks, so they were not failing any differently than the way a boiler that gets the amount of use that we get would fail. When they failed, we couldn't we couldn't replace things or fix them, and if a rib ever failed, we were out of luck.
Yeah.
Like those 1,000-pound ribs you can't get. We were able to get some of the different parts, the pumps and different things, but I'll talk to Anthony about that. I wouldn't be, I bet you, I know that he has one in his head, because when I
Yeah, well,
said,
that's what, you know,
I don't know if he has it categorized that way, but he's quite
I think
good.
We've proven to be conservative in our
Yep.
our funding, and I just wouldn't want him to think, I'll put that off another year. Be like, no, come to us and explain, hey, we're coming up to it would be good to replace this now because, inflation and parts and all that.
Yeah, I'll find out.
If the case can be made, it's prudent for the taxpayer.
Any questions?
Tom, I was saying, we're due for a meeting.
Yeah.
So-
You just let me know when you want, and I'll get dates. Okay?
Okay, personnel, employees leaving the district, full-time permanent, Patricia Bonuto, medical leave effective March 6th, approximately 4 weeks following surgery. She will be using her sick days. Employees entering the district part-time temporary, a chaperone for the orienteering, March 13th to the 17th, Jenny Boyle, substitute teacher, Matthew Warnes, substitute teacher aide, Kathleen Martini. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The virtual enterprise trip. Southold Virtual Enterprise, Eligo, will be attending the Youth Business Summit and International Trade Show at the Javits Center, April 7th and 8th in New York City. There will be 10 students attending and 2 chaperones. The students will miss 2 days of school. Can I get a motion authorizing that trip?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Carried. Finance Committee report.
Nothing.
Building Committee report.
Nothing.
Policy, we have nothing. Anybody have any new business? Second hearing of visitors. Just state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Darren St. George. I live in Sound Beach.
Okay.
I just wanted to come out today. I'm the new executive director over at the Southold Historical Museum, and I'm looking forward to some partnerships with the school in the future. Education is very important to me. I was a teacher in classroom for over 8 years, teaching from nursery to 8th grade. So I know that this bond that you have, this moment that you have to reach kids' lives is important, and I hope that the museum can help you fulfill those goals.
Yeah, we got a very good relationship with
Yeah.
the
I've been-
Historical Society.
Yeah.
I went over one of the classes a couple of years ago.
Oh, wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've heard of our Step Back in History week. So Haven't seen it yet. I really just started, but
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
No, it's always been a positive, healthy relationship between the two, and I think it's usually the fall.
Yeah.
I
I think they went in the fall. I think the elementary walks right over. I was over there with an elementary class.
Oh, that's good.
And then I think our tech classes, they make something for them that they put together over there.
Yeah, I love it. We also just connected with a junior, a wonderful student, and she came out and helped us make our phone system bilingual. Just volunteering time after school, walking from school to coming over to say hi and give us a hand. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
great kids.
that's great.
Anyway,
Welcome aboard.
pleasure meeting all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
meeting you too.
Board member commentary. Tom?
I just want to congratulate the girls cheer and the bowling team, I heard did very well in the county
Yep.
championship. That's all I have.
Brian?
Echo Tom's congratulations. I didn't even know about the bowling team, and I hadn't heard until you mentioned the status of the cheerleading. It's great.
Yeah, it's a slow time of year. The lull right before budget season is off to the races. Our next board meetings are March 5th is the budget meeting, March 12th is the budget meeting, and March 26th is our regular meeting in March. Motion for adjournment. Second? That was your request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.